The rain poured down in thick sheets, soaking the streets of the small town. Lightning split the sky, and thunder shook the old wooden house where Maya sat alone, heart pounding. Outside, the wind howled like a wild animal, pushing against the windows with such force that they trembled in their frames. But inside, it was the silence that was louder, the silence after the fight. Maya stared at the cracked mirror hanging on the peeling wall. Her eyes, tired and red from crying, looked back at her, filled with disbelief. How had everything gone so wrong? Just hours ago, her life had felt like a fragile thread stretched tight. Now it was breaking apart, unraveling faster than she could hold on. The door creaked open. Maya's heart jumped, but it was only the wind. She wrapped her arms around herself, pulling her thin jacket tighter. Her phone buzzed on the table. A message from her ex-husband David. She didn't want to look at it, but curiosity won. The screen lit up. "You're worthless. I'm done with this. You're nothing but a failure." Maya's hands trembled as she deleted the message. This was the moment she had feared, the moment David finally gave up on her. They had been married for 5 years, but he had never truly seen her. To him, she was poor, broken, a burden. He didn't know the truth. No one did, because Maya was not just any woman struggling in a small town. She was the hidden heir to a billionaire fortune, a secret that had been kept from the world. Even from herself, it wasn't always like this. Just a few months ago, Maya's life had been full of hope. She had married David, a kind man who promised to love her through thick and thin. But reality was harsher. The bills piled up, jobs were lost, and their small apartment felt more like a prison. David's patience wore thin, replaced by anger and resentment. One evening, after a particularly heated argument about money, David stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Maya sat on the floor, tears streaming down her face. She whispered to the empty room, I'm doing my best." But the universe had other plans. A week later, Maya received a letter from a law firm she had never heard of. The envelope was thick and heavy, sealed with an elegant crest. Curiosity mixed with fear as she broke the seal. Inside was a will, her grandmother's will. Maya had always thought her grandmother was just a kind old woman who lived quietly in the city, far from their small-town troubles. But the will revealed a shocking truth. Her grandmother had left her a fortune, billions of dollars, hidden away in trusts and investments. All Maya had to do was claim it. At first, Maya thought it was a mistake. Someone else must be the real heir. But the documents were clear, legal, and final. This letter changed everything. Maya sat on her worn-out couch, staring at the papers. For the first time, a spark of hope lit inside her. She imagined a future where money wasn't a problem, where she could leave the small town behind, where David's cruelty no longer mattered, but the secret had to stay hidden. She couldn't tell David or anyone else yet. Who would believe her? How could she explain years of struggle when she was really a billionaire heiress? Days passed. Maya began to prepare quietly, gathering information, contacting lawyers, and making plans. But fate was cruel. One night, David came home drunk and angry, accusing Maya of hiding things from him. "Why won't you tell me the truth?" he shouted, slapping the kitchen table. Maya stayed silent, protecting her secret like a fragile glass. The next morning, she found a note on the door. "I'm done. Don't bother calling." Maya felt her world collapse again. That's when the real struggle began. She was divorced for being poor, rejected for the life she appeared to live, not the life she was destined for. But Maya was not ready to give up. In the quiet moments after the storm, she made a decision. She would rise, she would survive. And she would claim her destiny, no matter what. The mystery of her true identity was just beginning to unfold. Cliffhanger. But little did Maya know. Her past was not the only secret waiting to be uncovered. Shadows from her grandmother's Life lurked in the background, threatening to destroy everything Maya hoped to build. And someone powerful was watching her every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Maya's life had shattered like glass, but now the sharp edges were cutting a new path forward. After the divorce, she felt alone in a world that had judged her by appearances, yet beneath the surface, something greater was stirring. She had the letter, the will, and the truth that no one else knew, the fortune her grandmother had left her. But the road ahead was far from easy. The first step was to meet with the lawyer handling her inheritance. His name was Mr. Collins, an elderly man with silver hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see through lies and secrets. He sat behind a massive oak desk in a downtown office filled with thick books and old photographs. "Miss Patel," he began, calling her by her full name, "your grandmother's estate is vast, complex, and not without complications." Maya nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. "I understand. What kind of complications?" Mr. Collins sighed, pushing a file across the desk. "There are questions about the origins of the fortune. Your grandmother was a private woman, involved in business dealings that some powerful people would rather keep hidden." Maya's heart skipped a beat. She had expected obstacles, but not danger. "You must be careful," Mr. Collins warned. "There are people who might try to stop you from claiming what's rightfully yours." For the first time, Maya realized this was more than just about money. It was about survival. She left the office with a heavy mind. Outside, the city bustled, unaware of the silent war brewing beneath its surface. Back at her small apartment, Maya packed a bag. She needed to leave the town, at least temporarily. There was safety in distance, and she had to figure out her next move. As she locked the door behind her, a shadow moved across the street. A man in a dark coat watched her from the shadows, unseen but not unnoticed. Traveling to the city where her grandmother had lived was like stepping into another world. Tall buildings, busy streets, and faces that didn't recognize struggle or pain. Here, Maya was just another woman in the crowd, but the more she learned, the more questions she had. Why had her grandmother kept the fortune a secret? Who were the powerful people Mr. Collins mentioned? And why had no one ever told Maya about her family's true history? Her days were filled with meetings, research, and sleepless nights. Maya's phone buzzed constantly, calls from lawyers, messages from unknown numbers, sometimes threatening, sometimes pleading. One afternoon, Maya received an anonymous envelope. Inside was a single photograph, a picture of her grandmother, standing next to a man Maya had never seen before. The photo was old, faded, but the expressions were clear. Her grandmother looked serious, almost fearful. The man beside her smiled coldly, his eyes sharp and calculating. On the back of the photo, a note, "Not all allies are friends." Maya's blood ran cold. That night, as she sat in a small cafe going over the photograph again, a voice interrupted. "Her thoughts, Miss Patel?" a man asked softly. He was young, with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. "My name is Arjun. I work with Mr. Collins. I'm here to help." Maya hesitated but nodded. Somehow she trusted him. Arjun explained that her grandmother had been involved in high-stakes business and had made enemies. Some had tried to force her out, others had tried to steal her fortune, but she had fought back using every resource available. "Your grandmother was a fighter," Arjun said, "and so are you." With Arjun's help, Maya began to unravel the tangled web of her grandmother's past. They discovered hidden bank accounts, secret properties, and coded messages in letters. But with each discovery came new dangers. One night, Maya's apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but the message was clear. Someone was watching, waiting, fear mixed with determination. Maya was no longer a helpless woman rejected for poverty. She was becoming a force to be reckoned with. As days turned into weeks, Maya's confidence grew. She started to use her newfound resources to secure her safety and prepare to claim her inheritance publicly, but the powerful enemies were closing in. A late-night phone call warned her to stop digging or face consequences. Maya's response was silent resolve. She refused to be intimidated. Cliffhanger. Then came the phone call that changed everything. A voice from her past, one she never expected to hear again. Stop, or you'll regret it forever. Maya froze. Who was this? And how deeply was the secret of her fortune entwined with the people she had once trusted? The voice on the phone had sent a chill through Maya's entire body. It was cold, low, and filled with an unmistakable warning. Stop, or you'll regret it forever. Maya clenched her fists, her heart pounding fiercely. Who was it? Why now? And why did this threat come from someone who sounded too familiar? For days afterward, she couldn't sleep. Every creak, every shadow in her apartment seemed to carry danger. Yet beneath the fear was something stronger, a fierce resolve not to back down. Maya sat in a quiet cafe, sipping her coffee, trying to piece together her grandmother's story. Arjun sat beside her, his laptop open, scrolling through financial records and old letters. "We're close to something big," Arjun said, "but it's also why people want to keep this quiet." Maya nodded, understanding the stakes. "I don't care about the risks anymore. I want to know the truth." Arjun smiled softly. "Good, because it's going to get complicated." The next day, they traveled to a small town where Maya's grandmother had lived during her youth. It was nothing like the bustling city, narrow streets, old brick houses, and the scent of blooming flowers. Here, the past seemed to linger in the air. Maya felt a strange connection to this place. As if the answers she sought were hidden in its quiet corners, they visited the local library, where dusty archives held newspapers, records, and forgotten stories. With the librarian's help, Maya uncovered an article dated decades ago, a scandal involving her grandmother and a powerful businessman accused of fraud and corruption. Her grandmother's name was cleared, but the damage was done. The businessman had disappeared soon after, leaving a trail of broken lives. Could this be the man in the photograph, the one smiling coldly beside her grandmother? Later, Maya and Arjun found a small, abandoned house on the edge of town. It had been her grandmother's childhood home. Inside, hidden beneath floorboards, they discovered an old, locked box. Inside the box were letters, dozens of them, written in a code only Maya's grandmother had used. Arjun worked for hours, decoding the letters. What they revealed was shocking. Her grandmother had been involved in a secret network, fighting corruption and protecting vulnerable people. The fortune wasn't just money, it was power to make change, but with power came enemies. One letter spoke of a betrayal, someone close who had sold out the network. The pain in those words was real, a family torn apart by lies. Maya's mind raced. Was this betrayal connected to her own family? Could the divorce, the rejection, and the threats all be part of a larger, darker story? That night, Maya's phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. "You're getting too close. Walk away." But Maya was no longer afraid. Instead, she felt a surge of courage. She texted back simply, "I will find the truth." Days passed, with no further contact. Maya and Arjun dug deeper, uncovering more secrets buried in the past. They found bank accounts frozen for years, investments in companies fighting for social causes, and names of people who had mysteriously disappeared. Every revelation brought more questions. One afternoon, Maya was meeting with a woman named Evelyn, a former friend of her grandmother. Evelyn was frail but sharp, with eyes that held stories of pain and courage. "You have to be careful," Evelyn warned. There are people who would kill to keep this secret. Maya looked her in the eye. I'm ready. Evelyn nodded slowly. Good, because the past is not done with you yet. That evening, Maya returned to her apartment to find it ransacked. Papers scattered, drawers open. But what caught her attention was a small, folded note on her pillow. Trust no one. Her heart sank. Fear mixed with determination pushed Maya forward. She wasn't just fighting for money. She was fighting for her family's honor and for the future she believed in. Arjun stood by her side, unwavering. Then, the unthinkable happened. David, her ex-husband, appeared at her door. He looked different, worn, regretful. I heard about the inheritance, he said quietly. I want to help. Maya stared at him, disbelief and anger mixing inside. After everything you said, why now? David looked away. I was wrong. I never understood. Maya's mind raced. Was this a chance for forgiveness or a trap? Cliffhanger. As Maya debated her next move, her phone lit up with a video message. It was David, but not the man she knew. The message showed him meeting with a shadowy figure, discussing Maya's fortune. The last words chilled her to the bone. She must never claim it. Maya's hands trembled as she watched the video on her phone again and again. David's face, once filled with anger and bitterness, was now twisted in something else: greed, fear, and calculation. The shadowy figure he spoke with remained hidden in darkness, but their words were clear. She must never claim it. Betrayal cut deeper than any wound Maya had ever felt. The man who had once promised to love and support her was now part of the conspiracy to steal her future. But Maya was no longer the scared, powerless woman he thought he could manipulate. Determined, Maya confronted David the next day. She stood in the small cafe where they had first met years ago. His eyes flickered with guilt and panic. Why? Maya asked simply. Why betray me after everything? David swallowed hard. I was desperate. The money, it changed me. I didn't want you to have it because I didn't want you to leave me behind. But now I'm scared too. Maya shook her head. You already left me behind when you divorced me for being poor. Now, you're just proving how little you ever cared. David's shoulders slumped. I'm sorry. Truly. But Maya knew apologies weren't enough. She had to protect herself and her grandmother's legacy. With Arjun's help, Maya devised a plan. They gathered evidence of the conspiracy against her, including the video, secret bank transfers, and emails between David and the shadowy figure who they learned was a corrupt businessman named Victor Kane. Victor Kane had long been trying to claim the fortune for himself, using every trick. To keep Maya from the truth, Maya decided it was time to go public. She held a press conference, revealing the story behind her inheritance, the struggle, the betrayal, and the fight to claim what was rightfully hers. The public was shocked. Headlines around the world told the story of the woman who had been divorced for being poor, only to emerge as a billionaire heiress battling corruption. But the fight wasn't over. Victor Kane made his move, sending men to intimidate Maya and her allies. One night, Maya narrowly escaped an attempt on her life. Fear threatened to take hold, but Maya remembered her grandmother's letters and the strength of the network she had built. She refused to be a victim. Maya and Arjun worked with the authorities, exposing Victor Kane and his associates. Slowly, justice began to prevail. David, facing the consequences of his actions, cooperated with the investigation, seeking forgiveness in small ways. As the dust settled, Maya inherited the fortune fully. But more importantly, she inherited her grandmother's mission, to use the wealth not just for herself, but to help those who struggled like she once had. She established foundations to fight corruption, support education, and empower women. The woman who had been judged for poverty was now a beacon of hope and resilience. Final lesson. Maya's story teaches us that appearances can deceive, and true worth lies not in wealth or status, but in courage, perseverance, and the ability to rise above hardship. Sometimes the greatest battles are fought not just against others, but within ourselves, and winning those battles reveals the power to change the world. The end.